Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Espresso with Sky, giving you a fresh perspective on faith, life, God, and the Bible. It's Pastor Sky over here in Vancouver, just at a trail around my house. Of course, I'm taking you on a lot of trails. So today we're going to take a walk through the forest and these trails. And I just wanted to go through some deeper thinking and critical thinking of some of the things that are in the Bible. And I'm going to really call this section or this video things that don't make sense in the Bible. And the purpose of it isn't to say that the Bible is wrong. The purpose isn't to give you doubt. The purpose is to make us think more deeply. A lot of Christians, when they hear someone say something against the Bible, the first thing we do is get ultra defensive, and then we kind of lash out at them, or then we kind of look at them and say like, oh, you're wrong, how dare you say that? But a lot of times people are just curious. They're curious because they read the Bible or they heard something about it and they have no idea what it means, and they come to us to ask us. Now, there are some people who come in pretty strong and hard, and it feels like they're attacking us, and sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're only saying this to us this way because they have been attacked back, right? They ask the question and all of a sudden someone lashes out at them and saying, oh, how dare you say that? It's because you have no faith, you don't believe in God. So what I want to do today is go into a section that I want to kind of call like things that don't make sense about the Bible, all right? So I hope that it makes you think more deeply and it helps us to realize, oh, you know what? I should really think about this. Yes, there are many mysteries in the Bible we will never know, but there are some things out there where we've gotten enough evidence to say, oh, maybe this is what happened, or this is what the Bible is saying, all right? So let's get into the first thing that doesn't really make sense when it comes to the Bible. And we're gonna start off somewhere at the very, very beginning with the story of Adam and Eve. And there's this garden with two trees in the middle. One is a tree of life and one is a tree, the knowledge of good and evil. Or in other words, it's the tree of death. Because if you eat from that tree, you're gonna die. So here's the weird thing that doesn't make sense, is why would God put it in the center? You know what I mean? Like, this is the source of death for his beloved, Adam and Eve. But he puts this source of death in the middle where they get to look at it and get tempted by it every single day. Now, what makes it even more weird is that here is this loving God. Now, if you look at Matthew chapter 7, verse 11, it says that you, though you are evil, will do good things for your children, but how much more will God do when he loves us even more? So when I thought about that, I'm thinking, man, if I had children and there was like some poison that if they eat it, they're gonna die, would I put it like in the middle of the room and then all of a sudden, like tell my children, hey, don't eat this pill that's on the floor in the middle of the room that you can grab at any single time. And, I'm gonna leave the room for a bit, so don't eat it. Like, how many parents, even though we're not as great as God, we don't love our children as much as God loves us, we wouldn't even do that to our own children, but why would God do that to us? Like, it's very interesting, right? And of course, this is something that, remember, we want to critically think about this more than anything else. The second thing comes from the story right after it, which is the story of Cain and Abel. Now, we know the story where Cain kills Abel, right? And then after that, like, God kicks him out. But here's where it gets interesting again. In Genesis chapter 4, verse 16 and 17, what happens here, it says that Cain goes out to another town, and the town actually has a name called Nod. Now here's the thing. You can't have a name of a town or a place unless people are there. Because if no one's there to name it. But in this place, it's got a name, it's called Nod. And not only that, he finds a wife there and he has children. So here's the thing that doesn't make sense is, if Adam and Eve are the first human beings and then Cain and Abel are number 3 and 4, number 4 dies and then 3 goes off somewhere else and then finds a wife. So that doesn't make sense. That kind of doesn't make sense at all either. Now, I have heard some explanations like, hey, well, Adam and Eve had a ton of daughters, so, they went, the daughters went out. But I'm like, well, even if he had a ton of daughters, you wouldn't get very far, because how would you make babies? How would they procreate if it was just daughters running out there too? So it's quite interesting, like something that doesn't really make sense. And of course, I'm going to repeat this once again, is I'm not here to say the Bible is wrong, but we do have to critically think about these things and not just say, well, that means you have no faith. And the answer is no. Part of our faith is to ask, seek, and knock. And one thing I really don't like when it comes to, let's say, our explanations, when sometimes people will bring in, like, the thing that's really weird to me is, like, Christians will bring science in only when it supports what they think. But then when there's other pieces of science that don't support what they think, what do? They say, no, this is wrong. No, you can't believe in science. And I find that very hypocritical, or contradictory, right? You only pick and choose the things that support what you believe. So, I think that's something that we really have to think about critically also. So this last story I'm going to talk about today is going to be also in Genesis. We only got to chapter 6. And there's already so many things to talk about, but it's a story of judgment, Noah and the judgment of the flood. And that's probably why God led me to the waters, because about the flood, right? And the interesting thing about this story is there's a lot of data in these scriptures that tell us, like, the size of the boat. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 15, it says the boat is like 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. And the whole boat wasn't used for animals. But with a boat that size, the interesting thing is, can you fit all the animals in there? Can you really fit them all in there? And people can theorize that, there were less animals. But this story is only 4,500 years ago. And what we do know also is, the further you go back in time, it was almost like the bigger the animals were too. So could they fit all the animals, right? Or, because it wasn't just 2 of each, the clean animals was 7 of each too. So even when I think about this, I know that there's some zoos that have like 100, 200 animals, but the number of caretakers is in the thousands for just like 100 or 200 animals. So here you only have 8 people. Could they take care of all of them? Could they have enough food for all these animals when they're in the boat for over 300 days? Another thing that's quite interesting is when it comes to just the sheer number of people in the boat. There's only 8 people in the boat in all. Right? And after the world is not populated, so in a matter of 4,300 years, what happens? Well, number one is they need to repopulate the entire world to 8 billion in 4,300 years. But on top of that, they have to build other races, and they have to build languages too. So is that even possible for them to do all those things at once with only 8 people? And even on top of this, if you look at like Genesis chapter 7, verse 20, it tells you how high the waters rose. And it said the waters rose 20 feet above the highest mountain, which is Mount Everest, which is how many feet? It's supposed to be it's like 8,800 meters. So that means it's going to have to go 8,800 meters plus 20 feet. And the problem with that is there's not enough water in the world to flood the world to that level. Now, I've heard some theories about it too, but the interesting thing is, like, there's a theory that says there's like water in the atmosphere that was made just for the flood. And then when the flood came, all those waters the water in the atmosphere came down. But then the big problem here is where did the water go after? Like, if that water all came down, it's got to go somewhere too, right? So with that also, we look at these things that don't really make sense. Now I'm going to repeat myself for the 10th time. This is not about saying the Bible is wrong. This is not about saying that put doubt into your faith. This is for us to sit down and be critical about our faith more than anything else. And this is why I wanted to do this episode more than anything else. And I hope it's something that you guys can enjoy, but it makes you think like, I got to think deeper about this, and not just like live that type of life of faith where kind of just let everything slide by. And when people ask you questions, you don't even know how to answer these questions. So when people look at Christians, they're like, here are these people that believe in this God and this Bible, but they don't even research it. They don't even look into it. So it becomes like a place where there's a lot of people that make Christianity a place where it's like blind faith more than anything else. So I hope this is something that will make us think more deeply, and I will answer some of these questions as we go on to other content in these videos too, all right? My arm. I've been holding this camera up the entire time, so thank you. I hope it's not too shaky, but everyone have an amazing and awesome week. And you know, put your comments below. We'd love to hear what you guys think about the things that I talked about today. Or if you think you have an answer, go ahead, put it down there too, all right? Everyone have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys again on Espresso with Sky, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.